All right, I have arrived. Whee! And it's working. Okay, we're good.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a quick wipe anyway here.
Okay, watch out, everybody. You're gonna go blank. Ian is cleaning the lens on the camera. It wasn't magic.
Oh, sure it was.
You betcha. Rowan says, clap, clap. And Viz Viri says, hey. Hi, guys. We're live. Here we are. Carla says, hi, Siofra and Ian. How was your week? It was wet, but it's not wet today, or was it yesterday either. So we're getting a break between atmospheric rivers, which is coming back sometime tonight or tomorrow. But we were not in the flood zone north of us, and up in Washington state got hit really hard by the rains. We got our COVID vaccines on, was it Thursday or Friday? Friday, I guess. Anyway, yeah, it was Friday. So yesterday I was kind of like low energy and wanted to take a nap. Although I had to work on a client in the morning, so I went there wanting to take a nap. But
Wow.
I survived. Well, that's kind of huge. Must have like super,
No, I
super.
don't have anything. It's like,
It's big, gigantic. Rowan says we had 6 inches of snow here, below zero today and tomorrow. Oh yeah, fun and games. Some parts of the country were supposed to be down. The wind chill was minus 45 in some parts of the country yesterday, so they said. But yeah, cold. Sorry, guys. Weather. It's everywhere. Everywhere you are. You have some. Robert says hello. Laugh out loud. Funny games. Life. Teresa says hi. I have Nan, bread dough rising, adventures here with chores all fixed now. Yay. It's always good to have things fixed. Not Queen says hello all. Hi, Not Queen. Robert says, I hate winters with a passion, not a passion fruit. Yes, and Carla says, holy wow, I couldn't believe all the videos coming out of showing roads looking like rivers. Glad you guys and your loved ones are safe. Yes, so was I. Under a deep freeze here. Yes. It's like, it's just pretty much crazy. And there's now a new lake temporarily, and what's the place that's called? Not the Dead Sea Scrolls. The desert down in,
Gobi Desert. I don't know.
no, the California desert, Death Valley. That's it. They have a brand new lake.
Okay.
It rained enough that they got a lake that was
That's
from
kind of
ancient
amazing.
times that came back. Who knows how long it will last? Robert says YouTube censors grow ridiculous, and
Well,
holy
thank
cow or
you.
holy cow, major difference. Hi, Not. Thank you very much, Not Queen. That's wonderful. We really appreciate that. Fairy says, hi, Siofra and Ian. Hi, Fairy. That's a very nice Christmas present.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much.
Yay! So, welcome everybody. How are you all doing? I mean, I know the weather is crazy wherever we are, but otherwise, I mean, the Geminid meteor showers were last night, and I didn't have the energy to go outside to watch them, but I heard they were spectacular. Robert says, Siofra, I see you also have a dark sense of humor. Okay. Welcome all. Hello. Hail in this crazy prison planet, demiurge world. All hail. Yes. What's the topic tonight? I don't know. I'm waiting to find out with bated breath. I have, oh, 3 of my wands are already gone. So you guys that are interested in the wands, there's only 5 left at the moment. I'm going to be making some more after a bit, but I have to make sure that I'm in the right frame of mind energetically as well before I make them, because I don't want to, like, ickify them. I don't know what. Fairy says, it's very cold where I am in Canada, a total winter wonderland. Teresa says, bitter cold, but on Tuesday it will be above 0, then we'll plummet to extreme cold that night. That means it's going to be clear, huh? Yeah. Carla says, it's the holy wow, Robert. We bless the energy. We is me. Rowan says, oh my God, I'm tired. I heard not clean instead of not queen. I need a vacation.
Well,
Oh, not clean. I get you.
they do rhyme. I mean,
Yep,
that's
this is
pretty close.
true.
Yeah.
And I could have marbles in my mouth. I don't know. It's a possibility. Teresa says above 0 means above freezing. That's right, because above 0, 0 is 32 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit, where 0 in Celsius. So, and you're in Canada too. Robert says, Carla, I welcome your blessings. And hey, YouTube is censoring. No wonder Siofra didn't catch my drift.
Yeah, because they didn't. I didn't. They didn't have to tell me anything was held back or anything this time, so just didn't show up apparently.
Okay, apparently they just decided not to even let us look at it.
Yep.
They're going like, this is too bad for your eyes. Oh, they're so looking out for us, aren't they? Always. Robert says, not. It's true, there are rituals we can do using a knot. Yes, there are. Knot Queen says, yes, there is knot magic. Teresa says, Faye, we're in Canada. Carla says, Robert. As a matter of fact, when I'm doing the, I made this. This is my newest piece that I made. I wanted to get, since I sold the one I made previously and I really wanted it, I had to make a new one. And I used a piece of mica for the background on this. It's very interesting. It's got a very interesting look to it. And this is not magic, for sure. I mean, doing the wire wrapping when you're focusing on it and so forth is kind of cool. I rather enjoy that. Robert says, Siofra, this is fantastico looking good. I wish you can make one for me. Would you wear a tree? I mean, some men wear jewelry. I don't know. Or we could make you a tree and put it in a frame. And you could have like a framed tree if that's what you wanted. I'm pretty sure at this point I could accomplish that. Something that you could stick up on a wall or something. Barry says, Middlesex County, Ontario. And Robert says, Ontario, you have my sympathies. Rowan says, binding spells are done with knots. And yes, they are. And so are some protection spells. And then you can also use knots for counting.
Unbind them to
right, you can
dissipate things.
You can untie them to get rid of bindings and stuff like that. So, yeah. Robert says, anyway, let's talk magic, Siofra. Let's make a snowfall money magic. Yeah, the one kind of magic that Ian and I don't do. This Viries says the wire wrapping probably is similar to knot magic, you think? Yep, that's what I think. And seriously, when I'm making it, I'm very absorbed in it because I've always liked knots. It's like I was famous as a child for my ability to untie knots. And it just sort of spread across the base. We lived at Quonset Point, Rhode Island, and I had grown-ups coming to me with knots they couldn't figure out how to get out of their jewelry, specifically, a lot of them. And I just, would do my thing. And I was thinking about that, like, my first training or magical exercise, I guess it turned out to be, was learning how to untie knots and control my patience and frustration, because my mother was a knitter and crocheter, but she mostly knit, I think. I took up crocheting, but she had this big box of yarn, and it would all get tangled up, all these different colors. It was just like this big giant ball of twisted, knotted together yarn. And I one day saw this box in her closet and thought, hey, I can undo that. And so I took the box out and I sat down. I don't know how many hours it took me, probably 3 or 4 hours, I'd say. And I just I pick up a part of the yarn and decide, okay, I want to like extract this particular color from this mass, and I'd slowly start to unknot all of it, and discovered pretty quickly that if I got frustrated, my hands would tighten and pull, and then the knot would get tighter, so I'd have to stop and then take a slow, deep breath and let it go and wait till I got this feeling in my stomach gone, so I wasn't feeling like that anymore. And then I could start in and untie the knot. And it's funny because like I became a massage therapist, so I took knots out of people's bodies and and then putting knots back in to pull things back together, putting them in a way I want them, and so forth. So yeah, there's a lot of things out there craft wise and so forth that can be very helpful for your magical progress and for understanding your own nature and how to change it if you want to and so forth. And they can become these magical exercises unbeknownst to you until much later. Then all of a sudden it goes bam in your head and you go like, oh yeah, I can use that for this. So it's pretty cool. So Robert says, I'm glad we're all here tonight with all these infos. Thanks to Siofra, we will get to bed less stupid. Indeed. Oops, this very not queen says, yes, yes, yes. Melissa says, hi, Siofra and Ian. I just turned the video. I'm sitting in my chair and a black spider popped up on my armrest. I jumped. I looked at him and he looked at me, said hi, and he kept walking. Sign? Well, I guess the spider likes you because you didn't get bit, and maybe. And weaving knots and stuff like that. I mean, spiders, that's their jam. They make all kinds of amazing knot work creations, and they do it really, really well and very, very quickly. So, of course, the whole story of, the first spider woman, Aradia, was it? Yeah, Ariadne, excuse me, not Aradia, and her, challenging the goddess of weaving and so forth, and being turned into a spider for her trouble, which was kind of like, bad on Athena's part, but hey, spiders are cool. Rowan says, I have to use a fid to untie knots. Marlin spike works as well. Those are two things I'm not familiar with. Robert says, Melissa, yes, it's a sign, but don't know which. I prefer silver color spiders. Carla says, I saved my cat's whiskers when I find them and saved all her baby teeth as I found them years ago. I made a charmed bracelet with cat's eye beads, glass, black onyx beads, and a whisker threaded inside. Cool. Sounds like cat magic. Robert says, Rowan, can you do a spell for me this week during the new moon, a money spell? And Melissa says, Robert, thank you. Robert says, usually a spider is a sign meaning a transformation. Well, that could be, well, they're not as much into transformation as they are in, well, it could be transformation. I think more of like butterflies and things like that is the true transformation symbol out there, but certainly it transforms its milk into silk, so that's pretty cool. Robert says, Melissa, I hope you were to feed your newfound pet a black spider. Melissa says, true, true, wonderful weavers. Carla says, I call every spider I see in here Charlotte. I jump every time. Me too. Spiders make me jump. Robert says, I just finished a ritual that drained me so much, but I ate a few eggs and I was okay. Well, it's always a good idea to eat after you do magic because you need to replenish your energy stores. So good. That's why there's usually a feast after a magical ritual. They end with a feast for a reason. Of course, if they started with the feast, everybody would be falling asleep in the middle of the ritual, which would not work out very well for the ritual. Carla says, definitely a nod to Bast. Robert says, the spider means also to get out of a situation entrapped by a web. Rowan says, I don't do spells for other people, too much negative karmic possibility. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Rowan. I don't either. I don't do spells for other people. I rarely even do them for myself, but I have done some for other people, and it's always been interesting as far as the results were concerned. I did a truth spell for some friends of mine, and ever since I did that, people tell me things that I'm thinking they didn't intend to. It just sort of blurts right out of their mouth, and I just stand there and look at them and think, you know, you're talking out loud? And I don't know. But I wasn't too worried about my repercussions because I generally tell the truth anyway. So I don't have things that I'm trying to hide from people. There's just some things I don't talk about with certain people because it's none of their business, but not because I don't tell the truth. But yes, you can definitely get some karmic backlash. Barry says, Siofra, could you talk about physical mediumship and your experiences with it? Have you seen things like ectoplasm and so on? Well, I heard about ectoplasm, but no. In my mediumship days, the channeling that I did, I got some physical effects, but ectoplasm was not one of them. I did have some key bending and varnish melting, apparently, that happened during one of my sessions. The guy's car key in his pocket just bent over while he was sitting in his chair, and another person, a woman, was wearing a sweater with the fuzzes, the fuzzies on it, and the chair she was sitting on, which was not just recently finished, apparently the varnish melted and grabbed all of the fiber from the hairs, and when she went to get up, her hair was stuck inside the chair, so that was kind of interesting and definitely surprising. There was that much energy that happened. And I've certainly had a lot of face changes, facial features changing, and stuff like that for people in some of those sessions. I always wondered about ectoplasm. I worried about ectoplasm actually because I thought, ew, I don't want something like that coming out of my mouth. But yeah, I don't know. Melissa says, will you ever have a short magic class online someday? Well, I have my Zoom account, and I've done a couple of classes. I've got, I think, 3 or 4 classes that you can actually purchase at this point if you want to. I can let you know what the names of the classes are. There's one on psychic self-defense, on reclaiming your personal power, kind of natural authority. I'll have to look at them. And yes, we can certainly do a magic class online. If you have a subject in particular that you want to have covered, send me an email at chiefrasmagicalcove@gmail.com and let me know what subject you would like to have covered, and I will come up with a class and we can do it. So yeah, I like the idea of the Zoom better than using YouTube, obviously, because I can't see people. And with the Zoom, at least you have some interaction and facial, and see people's faces and that kind of thing, and so forth. So, and we can record them so that you have access to them later. And sometimes we record them and then let other people who couldn't make it to the class participate by watching it later. So that's what we've got right now. We have some classes that I did on different subjects, where you can get the link to the class and watch it, download it. I can also download it for you, that kind of thing. You have it when you want to check it out. Robert says, Siofra and Ian, I like you both. Tonight I will send you blessings, energies as soon as I recuperate more. Oh, thank you, Robert.
That's very nice.
Melissa says, Robert, yes, I am caught in a web. It's hard to free myself totally. Long story, long time. Oh, yes, this happens to many of us. Robert says, I hope one day to make a very dangerous ritual so that way I will get recognized more by higher up spirits. They play hard to get. I see. I don't know that doing a dangerous ritual is the best way to get their attention. Doing a powerful ritual, changing yourself, growing, becoming a better version of you, these are the best ways to get their attention, in my opinion. Ease of yours says, that would be cool, Melissa. Robert says, Melissa, yep, I knew it almost all the time. This reason you need to evaluate what you do and establish a change. Melissa says, Bizveries 193, yes, it seems like a good group. Rowan says, I've seen shimmering like the heat on a hot road in the form of a person in my home about 3 feet tall. That sounds like it could be a nature spirit. They're usually short, especially in the beginning. Not all of them are, but some of them are. Melissa says, Robert, yes, a message dropped last night. Do you have any suggestions for? Adam Smith says, the vibes here are so good on this channel. My friend who I talked with about fairies shared one of your videos, and I have been enjoying so many videos. Well, welcome, Adam. And we're glad. We really are glad that people are finding out about our channel and enjoying our videos. It was one of those weird things. One moment I decided I was going to start sharing what I experienced and what I knew in case other people might get something out of it too. It just happened. And here we are. And we do it our way. We're not like influencers and all this other stuff that so many people out there are. I'm trying to get across the real information and not necessarily come to all, conclusions about everything, because I'm always still learning as well. And that's one of the things I like about this path is there's always more to experience and more to learn. And it certainly isn't boring. At least I'm not bored. Robert says, well, sometimes messages are to be deciphered using symbols and sometimes numerology, the universe's language. Melissa says, it would be nice to have a small gathering. Yes, I will think of an idea. Thank you. Good. I look forward to hearing from you, Melissa.
The cameras do constant focusing things.
I'm moving too much?
No, it shouldn't do that.
Okay.
I don't know why it's doing.
And Robert says, Melissa, analyze this as much as you can. Good idea, Melissa. Thank you, Robert. Robert says, glad about it, Adam. Carla says, oh my gosh, I did a truth spell by changing words in a song. It was geared towards speed and a general situation. The dam is busting loose. Gotta watch out. They have dams busting loose up in Washington, so watch yourself, Carla. Don't weaken too many dams. Ron says, hello, and many blessings to I all. Hi, Ron. Beth says, hi, everyone. Hi, Beth. Cy Pigeon says, do you have any advice for a man who thinks he may have probably not good parasitic female spirit attached to him, setting aside the possibility that it is a thought form? Yeah, shore up your personal defenses and reject it. I mean, it's up to you. You don't have to keep any of these things if you don't want them there. There's like a whole series of videos on psychic self-defense and shielding and so forth, and blocking energies and whatnot, creating barriers, boundaries, having good boundaries, energetic boundaries. You can set up, I don't know how exactly I do this, but you can set up a thing in your energy field that says, if you sense this energy, throw it away. Sort of you put an alarm system in your energy field that is kind of always on the lookout for that energy signature kind of thing. And it can both warn you that it's attempting to do something to you and then have a programmed response to toss it back and immediately send it back to wherever it came from, which is generally speaking what I do. It's like sending it back to wherever it came from, because if it's not yours to deal with and you don't want to deal with it, you shouldn't have to. So that's my suggestion for that. And even if it's a thought form, that will help dissipate the thought form, because then you won't be feeding it. You won't you won't be adding energy to the situation. You'll be like setting up like, okay, this is I'm in a blind and I'm in control of what's in my space and my blind kind of a thing, and anything outside of this is not mine to deal with and not me, and I'm not going to put any energy into it. So the more you can do that and make it automatic and not have to think about it, the better it is for you, because thinking about something can pull it to you. Does that make sense? But yeah, that's kind of what what I can think of. Adam says hearts. Charity says happy holidays. Hi, Charity. Happy holidays to you as well. Brianna says, hey everyone. Hi, Brianna. Carla says, I used an amethyst, a skeleton key, and a candle. Sounds like a good combination. Not Queen says, yes, up for a gathering. Robert says, Siofra, usually a black candle is used for what purpose? A black candle is generally used for dissipating energies of some kind, or for working with entities that feel more comfortable in the dark, I would think. Or if you're trying to like do a journey into the underworld kind of thing, they're good for banishing and releasing energy and sending it back to someone. We had one person that was in our group for a while who decided that black candles were bad and just went nuts when she discovered we had some. We're like, it's just a color. It's okay. And it's still just a candle. It's just how you use it. But yeah. Teresa says, Ian, you may have a setting that asks if you want auto-focusing or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that next time. Right now we're kind of stuck because of the type of camera we have to turn it off and back on again to go and set the settings, and then once you're in this mode, then you can't change anything. So
without turning it off and starting the show over, which would be very disruptive.
Yeah, so but I will definitely take a look at that next time.
All right.
Because that's kind of annoying.
Robert says, I should start using mantras more. Yeah, mantras are good. Carla says, Siofra! Haha.
Lots of repetition.
Robert says, hello, Beth. Beth says, hi, Robert. Ron says, is that a tree of life or necklace? All of your jewelry glows with such energy and magic. Yes, and I just finished making this one this week, and I used a slice of mica behind it. It's really cool in person because it kind of looks like there's a cliff behind the tree or a giant rock or something. I really like how it turned out. And yes, I consider it a tree of life, so if I say it is, right? Is that how that works? Teresa says, daily spiritual cleansing is also valuable. Carla says, I once told someone I'd call corners with Siofra and Ian every day and twice on Sundays. Calling corners is good. Side Pigeon says, thank you. You're welcome. Charity says, Yule. Yes, it's coming up. Adam says, do you have a video on the goddess Hecate? No, I have a general video on goddesses because there's so many goddesses out there, and each one of them, there's so many different ways that you can work with them, and you never know for sure which is the one that is going to like pick you, if one does, because sometimes that happens, or what you're interested in. So I haven't done a specific video on specific goddesses, just sort of the concept in general. Robert says, I wonder if Hecate is a goddess or simply a higher being. Does it matter? And Carlos says, I have 2 hand-dipped black candles that I'm using on solstice. Awesome. Brianna says, I've been cleaning, and it's good to feel like I can finally control my space because I had a hard time cleaning after a lot of trauma. Well, good. I'm glad that's good for you. So, yay. Melissa says, where is everyone from? I'm from upstate New York near Albany. I'm from Ian and I are both from Oregon and the southern coast of Oregon. That's where we're from. Melissa says, that does look very cool. Love the pendant. Thank you. Adam says, Phoenix, Arizona. Melissa says, hi, Adam. Barbara says, yeah, it matters. A god or goddess. What is it? What is it? What is a god? Well, I mean, higher being, goddess, that could be just that could just be verbiage, a way of humans trying to define something, is what I meant by that. Because we all have different definitions of things. Melissa says, same here, Brianna. Cleaning. Adam says, hi, Melissa. Rowan says, Ohio here. Hi, Rowan in Ohio. Brianna says, love it, Melissa. Carla says, I'm in rural Pennsylvania. Yes, and we specifically targeted her town in rural Pennsylvania for our Amethyst full moon web charging this last month on the 4th of December, I think it was, that we did it. And it was pretty cool. So we're pretty happy with it. Melissa says, love to Brianna. Yep. We're all caught up, at least for the few seconds. Till everyone asks a question at the same time. They all come in at once. Carla says, it was absolutely amazing. Yeah, it was good. And I love how we've created our own pocket world, and how interesting it was that last week someone was asking, wanting to create their own pocket world. And I'm like, hey, we already got one. You can visit it anytime you want. And it helps, trust me. It really helps with the. I did one of these things the other day where I went out, I don't know where, I went out somewhere up there or whatever, and was looking at the planet and looking at all everybody's lights, and lots of dark ones and some bright ones, and just seeing kind of the distribution of all of that energy and so forth. And yeah, okay, so we're still we still have a long ways to go. It was interesting. Every so often I try to do a check-in and see what's happening out there, but and it's too much for one person. We all need to work together on it. That's all there is to that. It's one of the reasons why we started the Amethyst Crystal Web Project in the first place. So we have people from all around the globe, actually, at this point, that participated. I don't think we have anyone from Antarctica, but pretty much every other continent, there's at least a few people that are helping to charge up that energetic, connecting web of energy across the planet. So it's pretty cool. Melissa says that Carla, half my ancestors come from Allentown, Pennsylvania, in Lehigh County. Beth says, yes, we do, together. Ron says, mica is a bit underused, I think. I've crafted mini scrying window with some mica. I gave it to a tarot reader buddy. He told me it helped with opening his third eye. Yeah, that's kind of cool idea. It is very reflective. I can see that it could be used for that. Teresa says, I had an interesting meditation experience. I think I experienced matter as being non-physical. It lasted only about 2 seconds.
No, I'm thinking about Robert's question there, and you know what? I don't actually have an answer as to what is a god, what qualifies as a god, and what's just a higher being. So the way I've looked at it,
type of higher being, it seems.
yeah, the way I've looked at it is through the idea of immanence, where there is a universal consciousness throughout all things, which most people would call God, and then the particular gods of like Santeria and that are portions of that universal force that have been that are defined by specific characteristics and things, so they're all parts of the one whole. But I don't know exactly how how you could say that differs for sure from like a planetary being. And Barton mentions that a number of the Mercury beings were worshipped as basically as deities or gods in the past. Sorry.
No,
I don't really have a good answer for that question.
Right,
like
that's
that,
what I'm
yeah.
thinking. It really is a matter of interpretation and definition. Melissa says, there is or was a witchy magazine from Oregon. Do you know the name? No, I don't remember. I'm sure there's been more than one, but I don't know. Teresa said, yeah, we figured that out. Rowan says, I couldn't get into the Amethyst Ritual replay. Couldn't get the link to work. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, if that happens, I can send you I can download it and give it to you. So there's an option there for sharing the actual video without the having to use the link through Zoom. Oh, and some of them I erase because I only have so much space in my Zoom account where I'm allowed to keep things. So after I do a new one, I'm erasing the one from the month before. So that's a possibility too. Maybe you have the wrong link. I don't know. But anyway, always, send me a text and let me know, and there's probably something I can do. So Melissa says Ian is pondering away over there. Yes.
Yep.
Adam says, can you talk some about how you use magic in your craft or certain songs that you love that make you feel connected to your magical self? Well, I mean, magic is something that I just am all the time. It never stops. So in any activity that I do, I can either consciously be aware of the fact that I'm being a magical person and putting energy into it or not. Like, I'm usually not as conscious about that when I'm doing dishes, but sometimes when doing dishes, I am as well. But certainly when I'm doing my craft and stuff like that, I'm very aware of it. Like this year, I took on a project of making a shawl for all the women in our family. I made like 8 shawls. And each shawl was like a gift of love and attention and energy from me to them. And I focused on that when I crocheted it. So the energy I put into the fabric made it into a magical object. And I think that's pretty much how that works. It's your intention and focus that affects things that way. And certainly when I cook, I'm often thinking about people eating my food and putting energy, positive energy into what I'm cooking and so forth. And when I'm making the jewelry, I'm also thinking about, the process of creation and taking an idea from the mental plane and using my passion from the astral plane to create a physical object in the physical plane that I can then give away and share with other people, which is like an amazing thing to be able to create and then share what you've made with others. My wands, I'm more focused specifically on whatever the wood is, the stones I'm using, and so forth, the energy that I can feel from it as I'm creating it. And I put that into my descriptions on my Etsy page so that you have an idea of what that wand can represent and figure out whether or not you think it's a good fit for you. It's like I'm making them for others, but I don't know who I'm making them for. Sort of an interesting process. And going outside and just being in the woods and walking and counting the trees and nature and stuff like that, playing with the bunny and the cat in our house. Bunny's very magical. He's just so adorable. He's a very gentle and magical being kind of thing. And just, being consciously aware of the fact that we're not alone in the universe and that there's other forms of awareness and consciousness out there all around us, and feeling connected to the biosphere, the crows that come that I feed that land on my front lawn, and the deer that walk by and so forth. It's like magic doesn't have to be something that you do on a special occasion. Magic is something that you are when you get into it far enough. So it doesn't have to be planned, and anything you do can become a ritual. When I'm driving, I'm paying attention to all the energy from the other drivers to decide what they're going to do so that I'm prepared. That would be a form of, I don't know, clairvoyance and telepathy and all that other stuff. Just thinking about things and being in the moment and so forth. So for me, it's not like a separate activity. It's just imbued in everything that I do. And I think that's what real magic is. Magic is that awareness of the interconnected, interwoven, energetic base of all existence, and being more conscious of the fields that you encounter and how they affect you and whether you're going in the right direction or the wrong. It really helps to inspire intuition, I think, on a huge level. So I don't know if that answers that question. And there's lots of songs I like. I have some songs. I did a video on pagan songs that has some of the songs I like that are the magic songs. If I'm feeling upset, I can sing some of them in my head and it can help me a lot. So And Ian uses music for his meditational practice.
Right. He has that question for me later, so I do use music a lot as part of the meditational process, and um, the idea is to relax completely and more or less become one with the music. Let it stop thinking and be in the present and pay all the attention to the music in a relaxed fashion, and you really can get some mystical results from that. And some of the ones that I use that I like in particular, I have a lot of them, but I like John Lennon, Mind Games, where he talks about people doing magic and stuff for positive effect. He was one of the most spiritual people. So I listened to that, and of course, Imagine and some of the other John Lennon stuff. I've got a few favorites picked out here and there, usually one from this group and one from that group. Kansas does some interesting spiritual music. A lot of groups do a little bit here and there. Styx has some old fun stuff like Man of Miracles and their original old stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I think was sort of inspired at certain times. So, for example, Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven has a whole bunch of alchemical and spiritual symbolism in it. And I don't know the story behind that or if they intended it, but I suspect they were basically, whoever wrote that was inspired spiritually. So I think that happens sometimes. Groups are inspired with a really spiritual song without that necessarily being their forte. So I've got actually a lot of them I use for that, but I'd have to think them up off the top of my head. But things like that in general. America just has some really nice music that just, even when they're not singing, they're an oldie. All my stuff is old stuff. What can I say?
He
But
likes the same stuff I do, which is good.
yeah, from the early '70s or late '60s. But America has some stuff. They got some boring stuff, but they have a lot of stuff that's so nice. It just is spiritual, even though it's not singing about spiritual subjects. So yeah.
Yeah.
I could talk about the music stuff all day, but I should
And
probably,
at one
yeah.
point, I used Pablo Cruz's Ocean Breeze as a meditational practice every day. That's before Ian and I ever met. And I had the record, and I would play that and sit there and go into a meditative trance throughout the entire song. And I was always disappointed when it ended. But yeah, so it all depends on you. Carla says, I'm familiar with the area, although I'm not close by. I could be there within 90 minutes. I'm closer to State College. Nice to meet you. Teresa says, Moida defined the gods during the channeling. Adam says, same question for Ian. Yeah, we just answered that. Brianna says, when I try to tell people about higher beings and UFOs, they get mean or call me crazy. The men tend to be mean or dismissive, and the women seem more open to spirituality, but it's depressing. And Robert says, I understand, Brianna. I have to go back because I went too far.
And it says, I'm wondering why I even came to this planet. It seems like an uphill battle. I've certainly felt that way a lot in the past, and not as much anymore as I used to. You can, it's that first thing when you realize that you're learning something that people like poke at you for, or,
I have felt that way when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I felt like being here was a punishment.
It can get better. You start feeling, you start getting used to it, I guess. I don't know, maybe it's like having a sore tooth that you just kind of get used to and put up with for a long time, but it does get better over time. At least it did for me.
Well, for me, accepting the fact that this was actually a good place to be, it was the people that made it not nice. And it wasn't the place itself, but those who populated it helped although they're still around, I feel better. So Robert says, it's weird. That's about I understand, Brianna. Brianna says, yeah, Robert, people can't hear it unless they're on a certain level of consciousness. Adam says, like a hug from you to them. Melissa says, how about a fun crochet class? I crochet now. I'm not sure how entertaining a fun crochet class would be, but and Brianna says, level on consciousness on this earth is bottom of a gas station toilet. Yeah, unfortunately. Melissa says, crochet a crow. I've never done that. Carla says, I know it's so cliche, but do you guys like Stevie Nicks? I get super witchy with Stevie. What a basic witch thing to say, right? She's definitely a witch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like Stevie Nicks, but I actually like uh, rather than her solo stuff, I actually like the oh, I can't think of the name of the band.
Okay.
For crying out loud, Fleetwood Mac.
Yes, you know that
God.
name. I actually like the new one that she did just before the election, and I thought that was the most powerful song she's ever done. Not giving away your power. Don't let them take your power, whatever it's called. I loved it. I played it a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just something about Fleetwood Mac. I really like the way they did all their arrangements and everything. It makes it kind of special. And the other female singer of that band, I like her songs that she did with Fleetwood Mac a huge amount, and I'm not so fond of the songs she did solo. Same reason that she just doesn't have that stupendous arrangement and sound quality that Fleetwood Mac usually has.
Yeah, but I liked it. So Brianna
I'm
says,
not saying anything bad about it. It's just
yeah.
yeah.
I'm properly discouraged and don't care to interact with muggles very much. I try not to use disparaging words like muggles. I consider that that's a racist term, because that is a separation between us and them, and everyone is capable of evolving and growing and becoming more than what they appear to be. So, but you don't have to interact with people that are not getting you for sure. Melissa says, tell me about it, Brianna. Beth says, it's so satisfying making a scarf, preparing a meal, and putting your love into it, and the recipient feels it. Yes. Barbara says, Beth, I wish I could taste that meal. And Carla says, Brianna, I have nobody intellectual around me. My bestie is 3 hours away. The people here are, I even can know how to describe it, numb. They're numb. It's exhausting. Sundragon says, hi all. Hi, Sundragon. Teresa says, Moida, communicating with what you call the gods is connecting to a stream of collected energy that has been shaped and defined by human consciousness. Okay. Always good to see my own quotes. Robert says, Carla, same for me. Most people here are mindless drones. It's scary. That says, absolutely, tending your garden. We're all connected. Robert says, Teresa, that it's interesting. Melissa says, hi, Sun Dragon. Jaden says, there is a rabbit that comes by. Been giving him carrots. What else do they like to eat? Thanks. Actually, carrots are not very good for rabbits, but in small doses they're okay. It's not true that carrots are their main food source. It's a little bit too sweet for their digestion over the long haul. They love Timothy hay. They like other kinds of fruit, like blueberries right now is one of Quinn's favorite little things.
There's lettuce.
Yeah, and not iceberg lettuce, but you can give them butter lettuce or romaine lettuce, because iceberg lettuce is not good for them either. And stay away from any vegetable that tends to cause gas. So nothing like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, that kind of thing, because that is bad for them because they can't burp and they can't fart. And so if they get something that causes gas, it really is damaging to their intestinal tract. But yeah.
Bunnies are delicate.
Bunnies are very delicate. They're very fragile creatures, which is amazing considering how that's probably why they're so prolific. They have to be. Not only are they tasty treats to most of the animal kingdom, but they also are fragile, so they have to make lots of them. But yeah, bunnies are awesome. I love bunnies. And they can become quite friendly. So you might actually end up with a bunny friend there. Sun Dragon says, hey, Melissa. Beth says, Robert, I wish you could too. Carla says, I have a couple of friends within 15 miles, but it's my fault too. I kind of just stay home. There are times when I just like to be here and not have to interact with anybody. Like, actually, the day after our show, we kind of are homebodies pretty much because of the social activity and stuff like that. You need, like, we go back and forth between being social and then being within.
Yeah, well, I'm not so much of a social person normally. It's just my nature. I work with it though, trying.
Then Dragon says, hi, Siofra, hi, Ian. And Jaden retracted a message. Brianna says, I like meditation with music too. Melissa says, Peter, Cater, heart chakra, and throat chakra help me leave for a few minutes in meditation. Brianna says, I like America's songs. Sun Dragon says, I put out 3 bowls of various dry food every night on my veranda for a few particular stray cats. Yeah, and I'm sure raccoons and opossums like cat food too. Carla says, it is, right, Robert? Weird times. Rowan says, please keep me in your thoughts. I need something extremely important to break loose in my favor. Can't talk about it. Okay. Well, here's hoping that all the powers that be are moving in the right direction and that you will find whatever it is you need to find working out. Adam says, I discovered the band America from The Last Unicorn. They're really good. I watched that. Actually, I was surprised.
The Last Unicorn? Oh.
Yeah, you didn't see it with me. Actually, that's not The Last Unicorn. That's a different one. Never mind. But it was The Death of a Unicorn I watched. That was interesting. The Last Unicorn is a
Yeah, I've
different
just
show.
discovered of America as I've been listening to all their old stuff. Just discovered the song Donkey Jaw, which I decided I love because of the excellent guitars and things in that. And they keep saying, "Get behind me, Satan."
Beth says, update, all the rescued bunnies went to their forever home at a sanctuary. They're in training to visit different PTSD facilities. Ooh. Yeah, I saw someone here in Oregon, they rescued 50 bunnies from their house. It's like, whoa, that's a lot of bunnies. Melissa says, yes, it felt like a punishment most of my life. Now I can handle it if and when it comes my way. Robert says, Melissa, maybe you're a Hyoka empath. Ron says, I'm crafting a quilt, charging each section with healing love and all sorts of magic. A slow process, it brings me joy. That's fantastic. I mean, really, fabric arts, they are a perfect medium for magic, in my opinion. Carla says Fleetwood Mac, and I liked that too, Siofra. Carla says they're magic. Fleetwood Mac is a band. Beth says, love Stevie Nicks' beautiful white witch. She's casting in her performance. And Carla says she totally casts in her performances, Beth, especially with the band when they were young, her twirls. Melissa says, rabbits seem to like peanuts. Well, ours definitely liked peanuts, but when I was reading online, it didn't seem like giving them too many peanuts was a good idea. But he found a bag of peanuts I had for the crows. He opened said bag, spilled all the peanuts out on the floor, and was happily crunching away before I discovered it. So I moved the peanuts. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't know how good their instincts are when it comes to that. Sylph Hyde says, recently I've been taking care of my grandparents' garden. Can I work with it magically? I'm an urban beginner witch. Absolutely. You can talk to the spirits, the plant spirits and so forth, and maybe even find out what it is that each plant would like or what they need and so forth, and encourage their growth that way. You can also try to call in the local nature spirits, like the fae that's in your area, and make a little private area for them with some colored stones, sparkly rocks, some special plant stuff, and you can a little statue, fairy statue, or something like that, or a magic animal like a rabbit or what have you, and encourage them to come and play in the garden, and that can actually help your plants. And when you're growing magical plants like herbs that you can use for magic, like sage and rosemary and that kind of thing, it's really helpful to be bringing that energy in because it increases the potency of the plants. Like I'm amazed the one of the wands I just sold was made from rosemary wood from my yard, and rosemary wood is wonderful. It's a very protective plant and it has a long history of protective energy for magic, witches, etc. And when it gets large enough, it actually gets very thick, and it's not a spindly kind of wood at all. So yeah, I'd say yes, absolutely. Melissa says, "Oh wow, no burping or passing gas, poor things." Yeah, it can be a deadly combination for them if they get into the wrong thing. Robert says, "Melissa, you might be an empath. We are all having harder times." Yeah, well, we are. Luna Goddess says, "Hello. Sorry I'm late." Hi, Luna.
Not too late.
You're not too
We
late.
got a little bit of time left yet.
Robert says, "Better late than never, Luna."
Yep.
Carla says, "I like a lot of Santana. One Rage Against the Machine song." Jack White. Y'all get me kind of witchy. Donovan. Rowan says, "I had a California rabbit named Mark when I was a child. He was the best. He answered the hutch door when I knocked and gave me smoothies." Smoothies, huh? Oh, smoochies, not smoothies. That makes more sense. Yeah, I want to say smoothies. That's a very talented bunny. Brianna says, "I love The Last Unicorn." Yeah, that was a good book. Melissa says, "Hyoka." Never heard that term. Hyoka is a term, a Native American term for someone who's a contrarian.
So a lot of times they have to do. Speaking for myself, I kind of identify with that because a lot of times I make the best progress by doing things backwards.
Yeah.
Might take some explanation, but yeah.
Yeah, backwards is one of their go-to moves, is doing things backwards to point things out.
Sometimes that works well. Sometimes that works better for me than trying to do them forwards.
So Brianna says, "That's the only American song I know." And Robert says, "Yes, Hyoka, the strongest empath type." Brianna says, "I love bunnies." We do too. Rowan says, "I've been working hard on this issue since November. I can't get anything to budge in any direction as of yet. I think that you probably have gotten all the pieces together, and it's just going to take one domino to fall for everything else to fall into place for you." Carla says, "Jack White's song Bishop Harold Holmes is like a literal cleansing ritual for me."
Cool. I'll have to check out that one. I like Jack White. I don't have that song though in particular.
I went too far again. So, Melissa says, "Robert, the range of my experiences I have had, no idea what I am." Yeah, sometimes you don't need to define yourself. Beth says, "Carla, absolutely, I love it." Robert says, "Yes, I know, Melissa, you will get many different types of experience. Write this down always. It's going to be important." I mean, write this down, yeah. And Robert says, "Okay." Robert says, "Don't throw away those notes ever. Keep them all your life if you can." I think it's throw, not tro. Brianna says, "My sister told me she got her son a rabbit, and I yelled, 'Bunny, bunny, bunny!' And she laughed because her son calls the rabbit bunny, bunny, bunny." She said, "I said it just like he does." Yeah, we often shorten it to bun bun.
Yep.
It seems to be a pretty natural thing to do, I think. Carla says, "He's a little hero right now, isn't he?" Beth, shh, you didn't hear this from me, but watch for him. He's going to get loud with some of his friends.
So Robert, your comment, I'll just read it out loud. Your comment got held because I know I released it, but I know it won't show up anyway because they just don't. It says, "And I have news this week. I saw only narcissists like so often I threw them rocks as you suggested. A ha ha joke."
Aha, okay.
Yeah. So
That's what you do with narcissists.
I don't know
What
why
was
you
wrong
two-
with that? Throwing
uh,
rocks, maybe? I don't
well,
know.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Who knows?
It, but
Melissa says that, "Robert, thank you, I will." Robert says, "Melissa, You're in for a ride, mostly a pleasant one. Melissa says, well, it hasn't been pleasant all since childhood. So I understand that one. Mine was definitely not a pleasant experience, to say the least. I'm glad I'm past that part. Thank goodness. Luna says, thanks. You're welcome. Robert says, I just read that many airports in use are way less crowded. Tourism is down. Melissa says, that's weird. Robert says, Melissa, document yourself on YouTube about empaths. Find as much as possible you will feel relating. Rowan says, autocorrect is horrible. My bunny's name was Mork. Oh, Mork and Mindy Mork. All right. Melissa says, I've always done things backwards through the years. And Beth says, Carla, ooh, wonderful. Melissa says, at Robert, how do you mean YouTube? Think like what we're doing right now. Brianna says, I just felt young and started shouting, bunny, 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 so I must have connected with my nephew's joy without knowing he was shouting bunny like that. Seems like a psychic thing.
Well, I'll tell you what.
It's like good connection to the child within.
Yeah, bunnies sure have a cute rays they put out.
They do.
Most adorable little things.
Oh my! Everything they do is adorable.
Especially when our bunny starts jumping around, he gets real happy, starts shaking his head.
Yep, he runs around your feet. He makes
figure eights around your feet.
Infinity symbols around you, which is just so specific and yet very, cool. And yeah, he shakes his head, goes like that, shakes his head out. It's and of course, washing his face is adorable. Yawning is adorable. He hasn't thumped at us, so we haven't made him mad, which is nice. Because when bunnies get mad at someone, they thump their hind legs really loud to let their person know that they are displeased with whatever that was. So I guess so far we've been on his good side the whole time.
Yep.
Teresa says, laugh out loud. I loved that your bunny was named Mark. Yeah, but Mark is different. Luna says, did you get snow too? We got 7 inches in Pennsylvania. No snow for us. We're too warm. No rain for us either, hardly. We got rain, but not very much. And we're on the coast, so we don't get much in the way of snow. A couple of times a year sometimes. That's about it. Robert says, Melissa, on YouTube there are tons of videos about empaths. And I have some on them too, on the subject, because I'm an empath. Melissa says, oh yes, okay. Carla says, Beth, hearts. Robert says, when we know we are empath, it's easier. Melissa says, at Robert, thank you. Rowan says, I would love to have a finished giant rabbit. Oh my God, they're huge. It's like the size of a dog. 40 pounds and more. They are so big. It would absolutely terrify our cat.
Yes, it would.
My God. He's scared enough of the little bunny. Because when they play, they like to jump at the person they're playing with. And,
cat just doesn't know
the cat does not understand that. He's just like, ah! And then runs away. Brianna says, they are so adorbs. My nephew's one thumps. Ah, so now you know why. He's displeased. Nanu, Nanu. I would name him Mork Jr. Caught up. Amazing. I'm so good. We do seem to have some new people today, which is great. We love our regulars and like to see new people too, joining the party and finding out what it's like to be here. We certainly hope that we've created an atmosphere that is conducive to acceptance and sharing and all that other stuff. Alyssa says, you've got a great laugh, Siofra. Thank you. My husband likes it too. Yeah. If he's on his way to bed and I see something and I start laughing, he has to come back out and find out what it was. So Teresa says, the descriptions about your wands in your Etsy shop are excellent. Great information. Thank you. I was really amazed at how fast they started to go. So, and I got them all, the 3 that were purchased have all been shipped out. So, and I figured out a better way of shipping them. Adam says, there are lots of rabbits on the ranch where I live. I saw them as little bunnies, and now they're grown-up bunnies leaping around in the mallow leaves. Oh, I bet that's so adorable. They're so fast. They're very, very fast. Bunnies are very, very quick, and they can change direction instantaneously, which is one of the magical things about them. They can be headed in one direction 1 second and then completely flipped over and went the other way the next, and you're like, they spun and twisted in the air and went that way. Yep. It's like amazing. They're quite something. Ron says, I must go now. If I don't check back in with you all, my truest desire is that all who reads this be blessed with whatever they call peace. So mote it be, blessed be. Thank you, Ron, and nice for being here. We appreciate you. Ron says, I took my mork to the fair, not realizing it was a livestock sale. I cried so hard that they gave him back to me. Oh, good. Yeah, you don't want to give away your bunny, especially in a livestock fair. Oh my God, the things they might do to bunnies are not good. That would not be good. Carla says, my dryer just stopped heating with a full load in it. Sigh. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Heating coil. Not fun. I'm glad I have a jack of all trades, Da Vinci, in my house who can fix almost anything.
Fix a lot of stuff.
He fixes a lot of stuff. He actually fixed one of our washing machines down to a spot where the washing machine repairman says, I would never do that. And I don't know anyone who ever has.
Pretty much what he said.
Yeah. But he did. Saves us lots of money. You're a wealth of not having to call specialists. It's great. Carla says, grr. Rowan says, I have a clothesline. Oh, in the snow, that works really well. I used to have a clothesline too when some of the places I lived up north. What did I do when I was in the Kispiox? I think I actually did have an inside clothesline in the Kispiox so I could use it year round. I'd hang up my clothes so they would dry by the fire.
Also, I'd have them freeze dried.
Oh yeah, they'd be freeze dried for sure, and then you couldn't wear them. And then they get wet when they unfreeze, so it doesn't really work out very well.
You can knock all the ice off.
Yep. Robert says, Rowan, you sell goth clothes? I say the clothesline. Rowan says, it's great in the summer. A dryer is too hot in a tiny house in July. Oh, yeah, I bet. And things actually smell better when they're dried outside. The air has got a natural scent to it that makes a wonderful smell that's not going to make me sneeze most of the time. Carla says, stiff as a board and cold. I'm pretty sure she didn't mean stuff. Teresa says, in the old days, I think the ice would crack off. Carla says, they smell so good outside. See, Carla agrees with me. They do. Now, the clothesline didn't work on my panda bear. My mother had him hanging outside for like 2 months in the summertime, and he never dried because he wasn't washable. She killed him. She killed him dead. He was a victim of my childhood. And I blamed my mother because she said I knew it was going to happen. I had a really bad feeling about it. I didn't want her to wash him. He had been very extra loved, and she thought he needed to be washed. And I made her promise to get me another panda bear should she kill him. And then my father wouldn't let her get another panda bear. And so I never got my panda bear until I was an adult and going through therapy. My mother came for a visit, and I reminded her about the story of my panda bear. And she looked at me and she says, that happened such a long time ago. And I looked back at her and I said, you know what? It's never too late to keep a promise. And then she gave me my current teddy bear, Amanda, for Christmas that year. I was very touched by that. She actually heard what I said. She listened, and then she acted. So that meant more to me than almost anything. So that's the thing. It's like it doesn't have to be something spectacular or expensive or whatever, but if it's something meaningful and personal, it can be a lot more powerful. So I guess that would be a magical thing my mom did. That was cool. Rowan says, nope, I wear sweats, t-shirts, and hoodies. No sewing skills. Carlos says, oh my God, laugh out loud. Stuff. Yes, yes, stuff. Teresa says, have you not forgiven her for that? Well, I think I answered that question. Beth says, it's a thick pajama today and tomorrow. It's so cold here. Brianna says, is it normal to feel the earth moving from your kundalini or entities under the earth? It's not an earthquake. It feels energetic. I think it is normal. I've been getting a lot of that kind of buzzing sort of stuff. It happens especially in the evenings for me. Maybe in the daytime I'm more distracted and I don't feel it as much, but boy, as soon as the sun goes down, I start to get like buzzing everywhere. Robert says, yeah, we should all move to Nicaragua. Oh, yeah, that'd be a good spot to go, just where they're ready to start dropping bombs. Carlos says, Siofra, it was a very important gift. Robert says, buzzing? Yes, my legs sometimes tremble. Energy's coming in. And I'm getting some of the geomagnetic storm energy, too, coming from the current G4 storm we've got going. I can sometimes sense that, even though I'm farther south than I used to be. Brianna says, yes, feels like that feeling when an elevator stops on the floor you arrived at. Oh, yeah, that's a good description. I probably never would have thought of that as a description since I don't ride elevators much anymore. Adam says, did you hear the song Grace Slick wrote about the panda bear? There's a video of her playing it solo at the piano with Graham Nash joining with harmonies. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, that's one I'm not familiar with.
I love Grace Slick.
Yeah, I've got a couple of her old solo albums, but I'm pretty sure that one's not on it.
Not that I heard. Bella says, can you predict your death with astrology and your afterlife? Not I. I don't know if someone else can, but I can't.
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
I think your afterlife has to do with how you live the life you're in, so
I'm not
under your control.
I basically don't know much about astrology myself, so next time I'm definitely going to turn that autofocus off if I can.
Yes, I don't think it's happened before, so that must be what it is.
Well, no, I'm sure that's what it is. On before, but it's like just...
Robert says, Brianna, you do also? Glad I'm not really alone in this. Sometimes I wonder why we do have that. And I think it's the energetic kundalini vibration of the everything that exists. It's almost like individual cells are vibrating. It reminds me of what happened once when I went into a super hot spring, and then I went into a cold plunge, and then I jumped back into the super hot spring, and every cell in my body was vibrating because it had just contracted. And now it was expanding really fast, and all the blood was flowing. Very similar feeling to that. I was really glad that I was young when I did that. I think it could have killed me if I had done it now.
Yeah, the thing to realize about Kundalini is that it can work in different spots at different times. So, you know, where and what you experience depends. If it's down there, it might be like, if it's the earth thing, it might be like your root chakra. You can get different things. I've had a feeling of heat a number of times. One time it started in my midsection and moved on up to my chest and lungs and seemed to go out the top of my shoulders and things like that. I experienced one time a chakra decided to kind of awaken, and it seemed like I was seeing a sun, internal sun, that chakra. I mean, there's all kinds of effects the Kundalini can cause. They're so myriad, it just all depends on what it relates to, all depends on where it's working in you at the moment.
I had a funny dream last night. Apparently, no one had ever thought that Foghorn, the chicken in the cartoons, should have a foghorn. Apparently, in my dream, I thought of it and I wanted to go buy a foghorn
Foghorn Leghorn, of course.
and play the foghorn when Foghorn Leghorn came on. I was very tickled with myself.
And why in the world you've been thinking about that since we haven't watched
I
any
haven't
cartoons
been
or
thinking
anything?
about that at all, as far as I know. We haven't watched any Looney Tunes. Well, although we do sometimes. So Carla says, when it's a clear night and you can see all the stars, you can almost sense the curvature. I want to know if I'm the only weird one. Oh yeah, I can sense it. Robert says, I felt maybe sometimes it can be related to food, but not really. Melissa says, Robert, wow, I think you're right about the Hyoka. Robert says, it's a fascinating subject, Melissa. Melissa said, yes, I'm going to read more later. Robert says, we do thrive with a sense of humor. That is very special. Melissa says, Robert, can I ask your zodiac sign? Sun sign? Boy.
You to go get you a lozenge?
I have one in my mouth.
Okay.
Robert's a Capricorn like me. And Brianna says, yes, it's very sensory, having an active kundalini. Like when it went through my crown in 2023, it felt like I had a hole in the top of my head. Oh, yeah. That's always fun.
I'll tell you what did that to me once. I decided to just take a bite of a myrtle leaf because I wanted to find out what it tasted like because we have myrtle trees growing around here. And so I knew what it smelled like. I took a bite of it and it went right to the top of my head, and it seemed to be the pain from the leaf being so, they're not really hot. They're like, it's a different kind of thing. Kind of like spicy, but different. It went right to the top of my head, and it felt like it was burning a hole in my crown chakra. I thought, I better not take any more bites of those.
You can use them like bay leaves.
Sort of like what
In cooking.
wasabi does to you, kind of, in a way. Like
Except not your nasal passages, but
Yeah.
the top of your head.
Well, it got right in my nasal passages, but yes. It was an interesting conversation.
Melissa said, thank you, I'm Sagittarius. And Robert says, it's all I know. Well, that means probably that your ruling planet is a Saturn like me. Brianna says, ha ha, Foghorn, he's so funny. Now I want to watch cartoons. I like him with the hawk. The baby hawk, he's pretty hysterical with that. Robert says, okay, very close astrological sign. Adam says, can you talk about dream protection? Okay, dream protection. Basically, you start it when you're awake, and you start it before you go to sleep, and you start practicing using sigils like the pentagram, which is the one that I use, and casting them around you and so forth, and talking in your mind about how you can use that when you're sleeping if something attacks you in a dream, for example, and that you have the power to protect yourself. So there's a lot of self-talk involved to program your subconscious, and the more you practice doing it in real life, of course, when you're awake, the more accessible that potential protection becomes when you're asleep. But it takes time to develop. But yes, Ian has had that experience, and so have I, of throwing pentagrams at things in a dream that suddenly don't seem like they should be there.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it. It sort of got it as an ability at a time when I was having a whole bunch of bad dreams, but it seems to be the only way I can become a tiny bit lucid in my dreams. That what happens if something attacks me like that, I become just enough lucid to whip up a pentagram and throw it at them. And so, yeah. However, I can't say how I developed that ability. It just kind of
Happened.
Yeah.
But then you've been doing ritual for many, many, many years.
Well, that's true. Yes.
So you have that in waking life, like down pat.
Right.
And
I'm sure that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. When I did it in one of my dreams, I was drawing the pentagram out with my finger, and it worked. But I thought, that's kind of slow. So then I started practicing visualizing a pentagram like on my palm already there and throwing it like that. So I didn't have to draw it in my dream. Save some microseconds.
I usually the way the visualization came up for me was it being like a throwing star, and then I just throw the pentagram right into him and stick it right into the whatever's attacking me. Yep.
Point right in, okay.
Yep.
Me, I throw the whole thing that way. Maybe I'll do the points next time if I have
I don't know.
to.
It's just what came to me naturally,
Yep. So Carla says, I think I found a divine masculine I can connect with. I haven't, but I like him, at least the idea of him. Dionysus. Okay. Yeah, me, yeah, everybody's going to be different with that. Melissa says that Robert, yes, astrology can be complicated, in my opinion. Beth says, I feel it. Robert says, yes, Melissa, some astrology is based on planet positions, others don't. The curve? Oh, hell yeah. I do feel it. Sometimes it affects the way time is lived in my life during the day. At times, time passes too fast. I every so often am aware of the fact that we're moving, spinning on a ball in space. And I don't like feeling that for very long. I find it extremely disconcerting to become aware of it, but it does happen. Melissa says, Robert, yes. Robert says, way too fast. It's crazy. Robert says, yeah, Siofra, yesterday I did something for the first time. I try to contact the spiritual beings that are on Saturn. Okay, that can be interesting. Adam says, that's a great idea. Robert says, and I do believe I did trigger something. I will try again. Just make sure that you're very calm and respectful if you make a connection. That's the best advice. Since it's your ruling planet, you will probably be safer. A lot of people, they can't do that without endangering themselves.
That's true. It will help with being a ruling planet.
Yeah. Rowan says, that's a great idea, throwing the pentagram. Carla says, I got an Oracle spread book and did a read on my kiddo testing out their different layouts. I'm an intuitive reader, so this was different. His spread was telling him to ground. Fella says, before using, I think, not Brandon, but Barden's magical evocation, is there anything I should read beforehand? I skipped to the spirits and their signs, but nothing on how to evoke them exactly. Yes,
well, yeah, it's actually
2 entire books.
Well, it's you need to not go right to the spirits, but read the first part of the book. It tells you about making all the tools. You need to make a proper magical wand, the magic triangle, and things like that. And for recommendation, I would recommend reading through Barden's first book at least. He recommends you need to be at least through the 8th step of his book to do an evocation properly. But yeah, read the first part of that. You definitely are gonna have to read like the theoretical part and stuff, and learn how to properly make the triangle and the wands and the things you're gonna use for it, because those all take very specific preparations.
And having some experience in ceremonial magic doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And being
Clairvoyance.
able to really focus and concentrate and control your thoughts and stay connected to that energy for a period of time, and clairvoyance.
But
Yes.
Barden goes right through the exact requirements for that in the first part of that. So definitely read through it all before attempting anything. Of course, you might dig through some of the spirits and just look at some of the fun things they can do.
Carla says he dreamed of demon trees that night and told me about it in the morning. I just said, you were supposed to ground. Apparently he was trying to ground, but he used the wrong tree. Melissa said, did you know daemons rule the planets? Well, that's what I heard. So daemons as a spirit, yes. There are spirit beings on each planet. Each planet has their own beings that exist there, and I've met several of them.
Yeah, but don't confuse that with what people call the demons, meaning usually the goetic spirits from Solomon. Daemons, in that sense, when it's spelled like that, generally just meant spirits, and it has no positive or negative connection to it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's some pretty powerful beings out there on other planets. They don't have physical bodies like we do, but, you know, they exist. Carla says he eye rolled me so hard he was probably seeing in reverse. Teresa said one's ruling planet is actually the planet that rules one's rising sign. Yes. That's why they call it your ruling planet. It's your rising sign. And I have Saturn, I have Capricorn in both the sun and the moon. So both of them are ruled by Saturn. So conscious and unconscious, which is sort of an interesting thing to have. Melissa says that Teresa, good information. Robert says, Melissa, the ancient spelling of daemon means protective spirits. The daemon is that, according to some. Rowan says, I'm reading Initiation into Hermetics right now. Good. Melissa says, Robert, interesting, thank you. And Brianna says, when I was a Christian, I astral traveled into a coven and pulled demons out of a person that was trying to get possessed. And I was recognized as a witch, and years later found out I was a witch. Well, there you go. Carla says, I was always taught they were teachers, Robert. Brianna says, so glad I figured out I was a witch. Yes, it's a relief, isn't it? Melissa says, thank you for clearing that up, Ian. Brianna says, I hope if I reincarnate again, I figure it out sooner. Melissa says, I am Capricorn rising. So you have the third, I'm Gemini rising, as far as that goes. Teresa says, so my rising sign is Capricorn, and so my ruling planet is Saturn. No, it's your sun sign that's your ruling planet, not your rising sign. So at least that's as far as I know, and that's what I've always learned. And I know that me and Saturn have got a pretty strong connection, so maybe someone changed the rules. It's your sun sign that has your ruling planet in it. Robert says, indeed, Carla. Rowan says, Pluto and Mars are my ruling planets. And it says, my grandson is Capricorn. He's the first one in my life. I'm getting to know this sign. He has a lot of Capricorn. I other planets too. I love him. He will be 7. Always good to love your grandson. He says, I'm a Gemini sun sign. Robert says, lucky number 7, Saturn. Fella said,
Saturn's magical number is generally
3.
Yeah.
7 is Venus.
Yeah.
And they get those things all mixed up too. Like I've seen the different numerology charts and looked into it pretty thoroughly, and 7 is not Saturn. Fella says, theoretically, if you can make a world in astral dimension, can I go or make the Middle Earth or any fictional fantasy world? It undoubtedly is already there. Considering how many people have visualized it, seen it, thought about it, read about it, and so forth, it exists in the astral realm already. You don't have to make it yourself. You can just go visit it.
Basically, the answer, though, is yes.
Yeah.
You can make, and that's one of the exercises that some of the Hermetic orders and some others did, was to make an astral temple. Like,
yeah,
that was a part of a Golden Dawn thing. I know from my reading. So they would go and make an astral temple, and you set it up just exactly how you want in the astral. Of course, since you can put any fictional thing in it you want, you can have all those statues and columns or whatever you want in your temple, on the astral. So, and the more times you do it, the more steady it'll stay, and you can actually work from there magically.
So, fella says Capricorn here too, and Robert says, hi, fella Capricorn. Fellow. Capricorns united! Robert says, Garnet seems to be my gemstone. Brianna says, I'm a Gemini club on TikTok, and I can't believe how much I have in common with other Geminis. We are a chaotic bunch. Robert says, I like black onyx to center my energy. Melissa says, what is the Summerlands? I have an idea, but did not look into it. Basically, the Summerlands is a pagan version of heaven, and I may or may not believe in it. I looked into it pretty thoroughly at one point. It's just like another version of the afterlife. So you can look into it. And we're running out of time. It's an hour and a half right now. Teresa says, Google says, how do you find your ruling planet? The ruling planet of your birth chart depends on your ascendant or rising sign. Well, Google's not always right. Melissa says, I love black onyx. Ella says, Legolas, here I come. Ha! Rowan says, 9 degrees here right now. Yikes. Carla says, black onyx is my charm bracelet. Robert says, wow. Minnie likes the stone. Luna Goddess says, what is a good stone for my little Capricorn to help him be grounded? Well, onyx, hematite, obsidian,
Yeah,
good stones.
Those are all good ones.
And we have to go. Bree says, I want to find a Labubu land on the astral.
But time did go by fast.
It
I
did.
had no idea.
Melissa says, wow, this went by fast. Yes, it did. Robert says, Luna, black tourmaline and black moonstone is good for that. Agreed, Melissa. And I think Summerlands was first proposed by spiritualists. All right, so we are done. We need to go bye-bye now. So anyone who has something further they need to discuss, send me an email at siofrasmagicalcove@gmail.com.
And thanks for making this such a good
This
chat.
has been lots of fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
When we don't even notice it's getting close to time. That's what,
I know.
That's what we like.
I moved the thing aside, and I went like, what? Because they keep moving where the time is. So anyway.
Hey, Robert. Just for Robert Inley here, I don't know what the heck. Robert Inley just typed in XX, and it held it for
some unknown reason.
Yes, it censored that, Robert.
It censored your kisses? Ah,
it was
evil.
an XX and it censored it.
It censored his kisses. Oh,
sorry,
that's
I don't
good.
know what YouTube's got against you lately.
I don't know either. All right, so I'm not going to read the rest of it, otherwise I'll still be here.
Goodbye,
but
everybody.
Thanks, everybody, and blessed be. Have yourselves a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday.